Hello, welcome to another Twiddy Pubs video. Shall I cut to one of those overly dramatic intros with the backdrop of stirring classical music? Nobody ever comments on those. I like them. Anyway, I'm in Marylebone today on this grey and drizzly October weekday afternoon to see what the local pubs have to offer. Cheers from the Jackelope. It's the name of a mythical creature, and you can see it on the wallpaper here. So I knew this pub as the Dover Castle, and it was formerly a Sam Smith's pub, but it was taken over a few years ago by the same people who own the Euston Tap, which you may be familiar with if you know London pubs at all. Sort of a bit of a beer venue in the old arches on the edge of Euston Station. Maybe I mean Gatehouse rather than Arches. I'm drinking the Iron Pier Bitter, and I think that came in at £2.50 for a half, and a little bit on the sweet side, but it's nice to see something that isn't grapefruit flavoured on the bar at somewhere that's owned by a slightly sort of hip, modern kind of pub co, if you can call them a pub co. I don't know how many other bars / pubs they own. Apparently established in 1777. The current building is early to mid 19th century. Two sets of double doors at the entrance. One has bottle entrance engraved on it, and the other retail entrance. So presumably there was an off-sales component of this pub, which is quite a common thing in the Victorian era, and it's become quite a rarity these days. The sloping bar counter is potentially original, and one more feature of interest is the mirrors behind the bar, which were apparently there so that coachmen could look outside whilst nominally facing the bar and see if their passengers were ready to leave. The lamp on the exterior there, apparently mid-19th century Windsor lamp. Moving on from the Jackelope, heading to the next pub, takes us down Harley Street, a street that is world renowned for extremely reasonably priced medical services. Next up, the curiously named Inn 1888. Cheers from Inn 1888. I've actually never been to this pub before. I think the rename was a few years ago, and I just didn't realise it was a sort of genuine historic pub interior on the inside. It's an interesting mixed bag, some parts, as you can hopefully see from these glimpses I'm overlaying on top now, are quite modern, up to and including a Hello Kitty on the door to the toilets. This was originally called the Devonshire Arms, and you can still see the coat of arms of the Duke of Devonshire, is that the Cavendish family, in both the hanging pub sign and in some of the glazing in the front windows. The current name is a bit of an oddity, isn't it, in 1888, given that the current rebuild of the pub is 1898, and the prior incarnation of the pub dates back to, I believe, 1825. So I think I read somewhere that it was a reference to the Whitechapel murders, so, they have at least preserved a lot of that interior, I think, really quite nicely. There's a lot of etched glass, majolica tile work around the walls, and particularly some very attractive advertising mirrors for Pocock and Pierce of Pancras Road, the sole proprietors of Paddy Liqueur Irish whiskey. There was only one hand pump that looked like it might have been real ale, but it was off at the moment. Most of the rest keg beers on tap, so I went for a slightly unusual choice. This is Camden Stout in this funny shaped glass. It's a half. It's actually pretty nice, and the guy did pour it out a few times for me, which I thought was very kind, because it was newly on and he wasn't quite happy with the consistency of it. Onto Marylebone High Street now, and a stroll down here could definitely leave you entirely devoid of hope that there is anything worth finding in terms of pubby pubs here in Marylebone. don't want to pick on any one establishment, but the former site of the old Rising Sun, absolutely gastro hell as far as I'm concerned. We won't be going there. Cheers from the Golden Eagle. This is an independent pub and has been, as I understand it, ran by the same landlady for over 30 years now, and is sometimes referred to as the heart of Marylebone. Definitely a pubby pub, but it's a lot cleaner than I remember it. I remember it being, you know, wonderfully a little bit more sort of grubby around the edges, which is kind of what you want in a pub. But it does still have a carpet, it has bar stools, it has banquette seating, I'm never sure how to pronounce that. First licensed in 1842 and the current building dates to 1890. It was at one time known as the Two Sisters for a brief period of its history. There is a piano in the corner which I believe gets regular use on weekday evenings, maybe 2 or 3 nights a week. Being independent, therefore they have complete free reign over the lineup on the bar. On this particular occasion, nothing out of the ordinary particularly grabbed me there, so I just went for standard, good old boring London Pride. I think that came in at £2.80 for a half. Random aside, I once had a pair of trousers fixed here. Next up, the King's Head. Cheers from the King's Arms. More classic pub interiors there, carpet, cushioned stools, little low-lying cushion stools, red cushions, red banquette, whatever you pronounce it, banquette, I never had to pronounce banquette, I think it's banquette, I don't know. First licensed in 1765 and rebuilt in 1939 by Charringtons, and you can still see some of their livery above the bar, even though today it's now in the hands of Green King, and a lot of those aspects of the interior are quite sort of 1930s. It's well worn in a wonderful way. Just 2 hand pumps on old Golden Hen, which I assume is a variant of old Speckled Hen, is it? And Green King's IPA. I went for the old Gold Hen, whatever it's called. 2 other things of note there at the King's Head are there's an upstairs room that has some theatre memorabilia on the wall, and the tiling around the bar counter is apparently a sort of classic of Charrington's brewery, you know, sort of slightly checkerboard style. I have a suit made by these guys, just the one. Okay, I think I'm saving the best till last on this occasion, the Barley Mow. Cheers for the Barley Mow. I'll give you a quick tour. One of the unique features of this pub are these compartments, cubicles, booths, call them what you will. There are 2 of them joining the bar. This would have been quite a common feature in Victorian pubs, but very much a rarity today. That's one of the reasons that the pub interior here at Barley Mow is so special. It would very much have been my preference to stay in the little compartment there, but I feel like it's rude somehow to occupy that when you're just a single person, and you know, it's very much a sort of space designed for I don't know, a couple having a not particularly inconspicuous affair or some such. Current pub dates to the late 18th century, possibly 1791, and for once that's something that Historic England and other sources actually appear to agree on. But the interior is resolutely Victorian, as evidenced by those booths, those little compartments, and also there are multiple entrances which would have corresponded to different compartmentalized bar spaces. Okay, well that's it for today here from the Barley Mow. A handful of pubs there in Marylebone. I will be honest, it's not an area that I know extremely well in London. I may well have missed some gems in Marylebone. Do let me know in the comments. Alas, my favourite pub of all time in Marylebone, the old Windsor Castle on, I think was it Crawford Street, is no more. It had a wonderful collection of royal memorabilia inside, and you know, full of knickknacks and curios, and that was a real gem. But that closed a few years back. But you know, I think, you know, today's tour was slightly uplifting, I suppose, in a way. There are still some interesting characterful pubs to be found in Marylebone, in my opinion, and it's not all just gastro pub nightmares like the things you'd find on Marylebone High Street. So hope some of that was useful and or enjoyable. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.